I'll start off, and then this is Ryan Ork, our fire marshal for the city. I'll introduce him, and Ryan's got a few comments, and then we'll entertain a few questions. But just understand that the timeline of occupants getting back in the building is not necessary. That's not got anything to do with us. So that'll be a building management question. We're just going to share with you all what has to happen before that can take place. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's very fair.
Yes. We ready to go?
Was there anybody else coming?
They are, they missed it.
You okay? All right. Bring me your chief.
We have some more coming in now.
Bernie, just get here when you can. It ain't like you do it. Perfect.
So Bernie, I told them before you stepped in, we've got some information we're going to share, and we will open up for some limited questions. We're not going to be able to talk about the patient's injuries or conditions very much, really any more than what I'm going to be able to say. Chief Ork has a statement concerning the status of the building, what has to take place in order for the tenants to get back in. But as far as that timeline, that has nothing to do with the city of Florence. That's the private entity doing that, and we'll leave those comments in regards to those people. And then we'll take some limited questions from there and go with it from there.
Could you spell your last name for me real
It's
quick?
O-R-R-I-C-K.
Sorry, chief.
No, you're good. We're still just chatting. Ready?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I want to take a few moments and share some information that's revolving around the Courtview Towers incident we had back a couple of weeks ago. I'll be making a few statements, and at the end I'll give Ryan Ork, our fire marshal, an opportunity to speak, and we'll take a few questions at the end of that. On the morning of December 29th, 2023, Florence Fire Rescue received a dispatch notification at 4:06 a.m. from our 911 center reporting a structure fire that was located at 201 North Pine Street, Courtview Towers. Courtview Towers is a 14-story structure in our downtown district. It's a non-sprinkled building that was built in 1975. This fire was reported by an occupant that was located in room 409. The first unit arrived 5 minutes later to discover heavy fire coming from a fourth-floor apartment on the Charlie side, which is the rear of the building. We had a total of 25 personnel from Florence Fire Rescue respond and work this incident. As crews began their ascent to the fire floor inside the building, a person was also located on a balcony of the same fourth-floor apartment. This apartment was heavily engulfed in fire and was preventing the occupant from escaping that area. They were trapped on the balcony. We had crews from one of our ladder trucks position their apparatus and perform a successful rescue from that fourth-floor balcony. This occupant received minor injuries related to the fire. They were transported to North Alabama Medical Center, where they were treated and later released. The crews that ascended the interior stairwell of the building to the fourth floor began an interior push to fight the fire. This crew discovered an occupant inside the apartment 409. The occupant was quickly removed and transported down an adjacent stairwell and removed to the exterior of the building. She was immediately transported by lifeguard ambulance service to North Alabama Medical Center, where she continued to receive treatment until she was later transferred to UAB Burn Center in Birmingham. This occupant had received significant injuries related to the fire. She was later identified as Eva Crittenden, which was also the registered occupant of apartment 409. Unfortunately, Ms. Crittenden succumbed to her injuries on January 1st, 2024, and we certainly want to be mindful of Ms. Crittenden's family and her friends during this time of loss. At the time of this fire, there were 216 registered tenants in Courtview Towers. We had begun evacuating the building beginning at the nearest location to the fire and working our way outward and upward in the structure. By mid-morning, the entire building had been evacuated of tenants. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone that has shown support to both the evacuated tenants as well as to our staff at the Florence Fire Rescue. A lot of people and a lot of organizations was involved from this, and this city and the people in this area have certainly stepped up to the need and the cause. A lot of people from this single incident have certainly been affected due to this fire, and we cannot say enough about the support that's been given, and it's certainly immeasurable, and we certainly appreciate it and much appreciated. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Ryan Orrick. He is our fire marshal for the city of Florence. Ryan will share some information concerning the status of the building as well as regarding the fire itself. Ryan.
Good afternoon. As Chief said, I'm Ryan Orrick. I'm the Fire Marshal, Fire Prevention Chief for the City of Florence. And I just want to give a little brief update about the status of the building and the preliminary fire calls determination that we've come up with at this point. And this is in conversation in conjunction with our on-call investigator and also the State Fire Marshal's office that we requested to respond, and they and did so. So just a brief update about the status of Courtview Towers. The power has been restored to the building. The building management company is currently in the process of deep cleaning the building and making any necessary repairs. Due to the fire, most of the fourth floor fire alarm equipment has to be replaced. The fire alarm devices have been ordered and hopefully will be in soon. Fire watch is currently in place and will remain in place until the fire alarm is restored to normal condition. There will not be any occupants on the fourth floor for some time due to the remodel repair of several apartments on that floor. I have advised the building management company that the following would have to be in place before any tenants will be allowed to reoccupy the 15th through 5th floor. All exit emergency lights throughout the building would have to be operational, and they have fairly certain they have completed this. This includes the replacement of any exit signs with no battery backups to combo exit emergency lights with a battery backup. The fire pump will have to be 100%. That work is supposed to be completed today. The fire alarm is 100% and verified by their contractor, and also witnessed. Our office will witness the final completion of that work. Both elevators are 100% in operation, which at this time they are both currently in service. Operation of all smoke detectors inside the apartments that could be occupied, and then all electrical issues that were observed corrected. The time frame in which the tenants move back into the building is currently up to the building management company and their subcontractors. There has been a significant amount of work done since the fire. A lot of items that were mentioned earlier have been corrected or are in the final stages of being completed. We communicate with the building management company and subcontractors almost daily. At this time, I want to talk a little bit about the fire calls determination. So, based on the witness statements and evidence observed at the scene, we have a preliminary fire calls determination. We have reason to believe that unattended smoking material caused the fire. This will be finalized once the autopsy results from the victim are received. And we would like to thank the Alabama State Fire Marshal's Office for their assistance in the investigation of this fire. So at this time, I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Anderton if there's any questions that he can't answer or that I can.
Okay, I want to reiterate and say thank you to the community in the city of Florence. Again, the outpouring of support. There are a lot of organizations, but there's been a lot of individuals that stepped up to the plate in a time of need, and we certainly appreciate that. And on behalf of the tenants of Courtview Towers and management, I certainly want to recognize them. Any questions you may have?
So they're all still currently displaced?
That is correct. Yes.
And
All tenants are currently displaced.
How many are in certain locations, if you know?
Do you have?
So there are certainly tenants that the last my knowledge was they were spread out among 4 hotels. So that was the last update that I have, that most of those are still spread upon 4 hotels in the city of Florence.
We do have a number. We don't know exactly what that number is, but we do have a number that's staying with friends and family. But the 4 hotels is absorbing several of them.
Gotcha. Is there a timeline at all that Courtview Towers has provided you for when
tenants might be able to move back in?
No, we have not been involved in that discussion. We've only been communicating what has to be done. We're certainly going to make sure the building is safe and ready for operation and occupancies back in, and we want to verify that. But as far as the timeline, that has not been identified.
You say unattended smoking material was the cause? Is that?
Yes.
You mean smoking as in smoking or smoking
So,
something? Smoking?
yeah, so with that, we feel like there was probably some smoking material, cigarettes, something along those lines, that were improperly disposed. And, you know, obviously come in contact with some combustible materials, and a small fire turned into a bigger fire. So that we, you know, at this point, that's our preliminary fire cause determination based on the witness statements that we've obtained, the fire scene examination, and the evidence that we've saw at the scene. So right now, that is our preliminary fire cause
So it didn't have
determination.
anything to do with an oxygen tank or anything along?
So there was a concentrator machine, and there was some oxygen bottles, or bottle that we found, which, you know, if you're on home oxygen, sometimes you would have those things, but we didn't see any indication of oxygen bottles exploded. Now, there were some aerosol cans and things like that you see in your own home. Lysol's an example of one, that some of those things had blew apart, but that's fairly common in any fire situation that we see. So, but we did not see any oxygen tanks that had exploded.
So, was it the whole apartment, the whole Courtview Towers, they're all, the 200 plus are still displaced, or was it just the fourth floor?
So right now, currently, all of the residents are displaced.
Okay.
All 216. And a little bit of backstory is behind that is, you know, when you have a fire in a high-rise building, you know, we have obviously firefighting operations that has to go on. We have water that we utilize to put out the fire, and that water has to go somewhere. And so it's trickled down and caused some damages inside the building that's got to be repaired as part of the firefighting operations. And some components had to be replaced, and so things have been ordered. They're not in yet, so we're just waiting on some of those things to get wrapped up. The building management company has been responsive, and they've been working diligently to try to get these things resolved to get the tenants back in. But at this point, we don't have a time frame on that, when that may occur.
So, are the hotels absorbing this cost, or are they charging the people?
I can't answer that because I don't know. I know the American Red Cross responded the morning of the fire, and of course they do sometimes for other, you know, fires that we have throughout. And as far as their process procedures, I'm not sure, you know, who's covering that cost.
Okay.
Was the smoking materials, is that in apartment 409?
That is correct.
And it was kind of kept in that apartment? You guys arrived on scene enough to kind of keep the fire within that apartment?
That's correct. The fire, the mainstay of the fire was contained to apartment 409, and of course you have smoke and heat and water damage that came out of that unit because of firefighting operations. So there is some other damage throughout some of the other parts of the building.
Are they grandfathered with a sprinkler system or without? You
So
said 75.
The building was built in 1975, and at the time it was built, it was not
Required.
required to be installed. Yes, sir.
Will that have to be done before?
So there's some discussion that's taking place with some codes that have been adopted by the state of Alabama, and that's some things that we're working with their management group as far as the building goes. And there's also some other changes that the management may implement, as a result of this fire.
And so mostly the electrical system and the fire detection system are what have to...
That's correct. That's correct. Most of the items that we mentioned earlier have been corrected or in the final stages. So there is some parts that had to be ordered and some equipment, and so they're kind of at the mercy of their suppliers to get that material in. And then once it does arrive, getting it on the schedule, which I don't think is going to be a problem. Once it arrives, it's just getting it here to get it replaced and repaired. And so, like I said, we won't compromise on life safety. We'll make sure the building is safe for the occupants to return in the building. We're not going to compromise on life safety.
When the call came in that morning, did it direct y'all directly to the room 409 or the apartment 409? How did y'all know exactly where to go? Or just the flames coming out the back? Or how?
So the original caller was the victim in the fire. She was the 911 caller. And so I'm not sure that our personnel knew exactly. Obviously, they knew it was on the 4th floor. Of course, you're under fire smoke conditions trying to make your way there. So they got to the fire room and then, identified as such that it was, apartment 409. I will say that the fire alarm did exactly what it was supposed to do in the building. In a high-rise building, the fire alarm set up to high-rise protocol. So what I mean by that is the whole building doesn't go off at one time. You have the fire floor, the floor above, the floor below. So if the fire moves or grows beyond that, then the fire alarm will activate itself to evacuate those occupants. The reason it's set up like that is so that we don't have everybody crowding the means of egress, the stairwells at the same time to try to get out. Plus, our guys are going up the stairwells to engage in firefighter operations. So, but the fire alarm did exactly what it was supposed to do. And actually, the victim was the 911 original caller before the fire alarm was even activated. So,
As far as you know, the foundation of the building is still okay?
as far as I know.
Is this the tallest building in Florence?
I'm not 100% sure that it is the tallest building probably downtown Florence. But the Renaissance Tower would probably be the tallest building in town. Or the 360 grill.
But the city of Florence has tower trucks, correct, that can,
We do. We have aerial apparatus. Chief, if you want to talk about their...
So sure, I had an opportunity to comment on this to our city council the other night. We have to spend a lot of money for equipment and preparation and training to take care of an incident just as this. And our equipment was in place and our people were ready and performed as they should.
awesome.
There are some limitations to the equipment, obviously, the taller buildings, but we were able to successfully set up in a timely manner and perform a rescue on this one off the balcony of the
And
fourth
just
floor.
talk about kind of how important that is for the community to have everything in place and ready to go like this.
Well, it's the difference in life and death. There's a lot of things that, you could try to make that's a cliche, maybe, sometimes, but it truly is, in this line of work, a matter of life and death. And having the equipment, having it dependable and ready to go, and the people who are trained and know how to operate it and have a plan, and that plan was incorporated that morning. And it's very unfortunate that there was a loss of life, but as far as the firefighting operations and the systems that were in place and all that, it operated as it should have.
How safe should community members feel knowing that you guys are?
Well, as a chief of the department, I'm certainly proud for what took place that day and the work and the effort. Again, we're certainly mindful of the loss of life, but it could have also been worse. It could have also been a lot worse.
Especially in a high-rise building like that.
Yes, ma'am. High-rise building is challenging. It is exceptionally hard to pack that gear and equipment on your back, hit the stairwell and climb, get up there, and then still have to go do work. It is really taxing on the people and the equipment. You have to have it. You have to have a good plan, a good cache of equipment, and a ready-to-go state, and people who know what to do with it. And I'm certainly proud of this department and the people that work here.
Was there anything else you needed that day that you didn't have?
The Atlantic Ocean in that single apartment. But it would. There's really not anything that I could say outside of if it was a newer constructed building that would have been sprinkled. There's not really anything else I could say this would have made a big difference. The systems in the building operated as they should. We have confirmation that the smoke detectors inside the apartment were activated. We could hear those in the background when the original caller was reporting it. One thing I will comment on, well, actually two things I will comment on, is this incident was not a factor, but our previous 4 fatalities have been related to non-working smoke detectors contributing to those in the city. When we go in and do an investigation, we did not find any evidence of working smoke detectors. So please, do your homework. Be attentive to that. Make sure your safety equipment in your homes are in a state that they should be. Change your batteries if they operate off batteries. Take a moment for the little things that can have such a huge impact, and take care of your loved ones. That's something that you can do, that you don't have to rely on anybody else to do as a property owner or a tenant.
What room was
The fire was in room 409.
what room in the apartment? Was it the kitchen?
The fire started in a bedroom in that apartment, yes.
Y'all have to, I hear the times daily. I hear y'all a lot of times having to respond to those towers, and
Sure.
you gotta take it seriously every single time, and I guess this is kind of an example why. Were you kind of surprised? You have to go there so often. Was it
We
surprised
do
when you
make,
got
we
there?
do make a lot of runs to fire alarms on this particular incident. It came in from an occupant in the apartment, so the fire alarm system had not even had an opportunity to activate and send notification. That happened a very, very short period of time into the 911 center afterwards. But, you know, we had a little indication just based on the dispatch information that we were probably going to a real incident versus just an automatic alarm incident that was reported. So that certainly helps, but we still have the same responsibility and have to be disciplined within ourselves to be ready and take care of business, just like it was real till we see that it's not.
Did y'all have to return to the building at any time since the fire?
No. Not for anything related to that.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about how the other occupant of that apartment is doing?
He's doing well. He was treated for minor injuries and released later that morning, and he has been located out of town for a period of time. He's back in the area, and the investigators had an opportunity to speak with him yesterday, and sort of put closure to that piece of it. But he is doing well.
Was he the husband? Did you tell us
I think
what
he is the husband, is my understanding of Miss
deceased.
Crittenden. Yes,
And he was the one on the balcony?
he was the one on the balcony that was trapped on the balcony. Yes.
How did you evacuate them?
The occupants inside the building. They helped us obviously, but there were quite a few. I don't have specific numbers. There were quite a few that we literally had to either carry or lead down the stairwells. It was the evacuation of the building was completely stairway operation. That was a manpower driven and time consuming effort, but it was quite a few people had to be guided out of the building, not just left on their own. Those that could left on their own, but there were a significant number of people that had to be assisted out.
How heavy would you say a turnout uniform is?
Probably in the neighborhood of 55, 60 pounds of gear, and then they pack they're taking hose lines, they're taking all the firefighting tools. One thing about fighting a fire such as this, if we have a residential home that catches on fire, we pull up on the curb and we have our cache of equipment on the truck and we can deploy it and go straight to work. In a high-rise fire such as this, we're trying to get that same cache of equipment up to at least 2 floors below the fire floor. And there's only usually one way to get that up there, and it's put it on your back and carry it. And you got to have a good plan to get the right assortment of equipment assigned to the right people so that it's arriving up there in a timely manner in the right kind of order so you're ready to put it all together and make it work.
How do you train for that?
It's repetition and a lot of planning. It really goes back to training and education and looking at your district and your hazards that you have and trying to make and develop a plan that applies to those, to a specific location. Different locations, your plan has to change just a little. Anything else?
Good job, thanks.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank y'all for your service.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Good job, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.